Hello, everybody. Welcome to the It's More Than Just a Game podcast, where me, Liam, Murray, and Declan Kenny will take a look at all the sporting action from the latest week. For our first episode, we're just going to go over the NFL's free agency period that started, I think, last week. And we'll just go through each division, each team, looking at who they signed and giving our opinions on if they're good or bad. And at the end, we'll give our opinion on the team that was the biggest winner from the offseason. So first, I'm going to look at the AFC North Cleveland Browns, and they were almost in the AFC Championship game, lost to a no-name quarterback who's 35 years old. The controversy in that game with Sorensen and Higgins, but other than that, they signed Malik Jackson, defensive tackle, Cody Parkey to a one-year deal, Anthony Walker, Troy Hill, and then John Johnson, which those are all base background deals. Cody Parkey wasn't bad. Don't know why they didn't sign him.
Better than in Chicago.
Better than was in Chicago. Anthony Walker's good, but they improved their defense, which struggled a lot in 2020. Like I said, couldn't even stop the Chiefs' backup quarterback. But I like John Johnson. I think he's a good safety. He'll help the secondary. It's already good with Denzel Ward and a few other pieces. Their offense is good. Wouldn't be surprised if Odell Beckham eventually gets traded, because they seem to do better without him in the lineup in the second half of the season than the beginning. But for them to do well next year, Baker Mayfield needs to continue to play well. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I really like what the Cleveland Browns did. I like how they re-signed everyone, and they brought in John Johnson to bolster up the secondary and the defense. Their defense needed some well-needed help, and I hope they continue to address that in the draft. And I seriously think that they are good contenders to win the division. I really do.
Yeah,
especially with Baltimore's inactivity.
Yeah, my early pick, unless Baltimore they could sign some other players, but I think Cleveland right now is the leader in that division for me. Yeah. So next up, Cincinnati. I'm going to straight up say horrible. Joe Burrow is going to be running all around the field again. Hopefully not going to get hurt. They signed Trey Hendrickson. He was a very underrated player on a great defense last year, but 4 years, $60 million. That's a lot. I know it's not 20. I know it's not the cap hit, 20 million, but that's still a lot. Mike Hilton, he's good. Rouzier, good. Again, not CB1. But Riley Reef, they signed to be left tackle. Like, I don't get it. I don't know why they wouldn't spend all their time trying to get David Andrews or Thuney. I don't understand the thought process there. Maybe they're looking at pick 5 to pick Sewell. I don't know, to say Penei Sewell. I don't think he'll go to 5. But they lost A.J. Brown. Didn't really sign anybody to replace him. I don't know. The only good thing they did last year was beat the Steelers. And again, they'll be like, Finley, I'm pretty sure, is gone too. They traded him.
Yeah, he's gone. I mean, I like him. He's an NC State guy, but he is not a starting quarterback in the league. He cannot even throw for 100 yards in a game. So, but I thought Trey Hendrickson was a good signing. I thought it was a bit of an overpayment, to be honest. But he's a solid player.
Yeah, but what signing at this point for big ticket free agents isn't an overpayment? In the future, they'll probably be not really liking that contract. So now Baltimore. I
nothing happened, really.
Yeah. People were calling the cost of their general manager on Twitter. I've seen him saying he was the best GMs in football because of their 2020 draft class, which was good. They got Queen and Dobbins in the first 2 rounds. Those are good pieces. But when you go into an AFC Championship game or a divisional game in Buffalo and you get 3 points, when your run game was garbage, it didn't get going, your main ordeal in the offseason should be decided for wide receiver 1. Juju, Golladay, even AJ Green would have been an upgrade over any of the guys they have. Even Emmanuel Sanders, who went to Buffalo. Any of these guys, Aguilar, it's not that good, but there's so many different weapons that they could have got to improve their passing game, and they didn't. They improved their O-line with Kevin Zeitler on a 3-year, $22.5 million deal. Tyus Bowser. They re-signed Derek Wolfe, which is, I know, a big piece of them, but they lost a lot. They lost Judon, Ingram, Snead, Ngakwe, Ward, Skura, who's horrible. They're probably happy to have him gone. Chris Moore, and Morgan Cox. They lost a lot in the offseason. They didn't get you. They gave. I guess we can give them some credit for trying to get Juju. They gave
Yeah.
him a better deal, and for some reason, he wants to play with Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I thought he was gone for sure from Pittsburgh. I don't
Yeah,
know, but I just feel like the Ravens they had a pretty good year last year. They just didn't do enough to follow up. They didn't address pretty much any of the needs that they really wanted to get. They tried to get Juju, didn't try hard enough. Apparently, they need a wide receiver one. I do not see Marquise Brown. I do not see Miles Boykin. Marquise Brown is a great deep threat. I do not see
yeah.
Miles Boykin or Marquise Brown. They're good wide receiver twos. They're great wide receiver twos. They needed Golladay. They needed Juju. They needed even AJ Green, like you said, would have been a way better option. But again, we have nothing. So
Yeah, and they're a good team. I like Lamar Jackson. I think he gets a bit too much of the hate. I think it's annoying seeing a guy run around. I wish he would just throw, but then you got to look at he can't throw because there's no viable option other than Mark Andrews, who's going to get a big payday. If you look at the tight ends
yeah,
who signed this year, he's going to cost a lot. But I don't understand. They're a weird team. The way they work, they improved the defense a lot last year, but they didn't do enough on the offense.
yeah, I
And
really
then
like the Baltimore defense. I think
yeah,
they're a great unit, but the offense, man, Lamar has been carrying their offense, to be honest. Like they have barely anyone at wide receiver. They lost Mark Ingram now, so I don't know. J.K. Dobbins had a couple good performances, but he was quite inconsistent.
and drops
Uh,
killed them in the game in Buffalo. Drops killed them. He dropped a few of them, and when your defense allows 10 points in a
yeah,
divisional round game, you should probably moving on.
yeah,
Uh,
all right,
so Pittsburgh now, which again, this entire division went from one of the best last year to, in my opinion, being Cleveland's to lose. Pittsburgh re-signed Juju, which is good. Re-signed Chris Wormley. They signed tackle Joe Hag. Don't really know a lot about him. They lost a lot, which I don't care really because Bud Dupree got a 5-year, $82.5 million deal after I think it was his ACL. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is, I know Tennessee's defense was awful last year, but that's a lot of money. Mike Hilton, they lost to Cincinnati. Matt Filer, their right tackle, they lost. And their current free agents include Steven Nelson, Avery Williamson, who was a decent piece for them, Connor, and Alejandro Villanueva. That's a lot. And then Big Ben coming back is obviously the one that's going to kill them because he was horrible.
Oh, he was so bad. Big Ben he was terrible, man. Like you look at they need a new quarterback. They need some. I mean, they got Dwayne Haskins in there, but we don't really know what that's going to look like next year.
And
If
he'll
they're going to be
probably just go to a club
transitioning,
and then say
yeah,
that's it. They
yeah.
they're
If
they're
they're
in
going
it.
to be true,
The
go
problem with the
ahead, sir.
Steelers, I feel, is they're not. They're kind of like I'll compare them to the Red Sox or the Yankees or the Habs of the NHL. They're not. They don't rebuild. They don't
Yeah,
rebuild. I know the Red Sox are kind of going there, but they don't rebuild. They keep getting talent until they're in no man's land where it's good enough sometimes for the playoffs, but never enough. They couldn't beat New England a few years ago, couldn't even beat Jacksonville, and then now are in a spot where their 40-year-old quarterback is awful. And
yeah,
they're an interesting team. I knew going into last season, I didn't like them. I wasn't buying their hype. I thought 9-7, that'll be their team. I don't like Big Ben. I was wrong for the first 11 weeks, and then everything fell apart in hilarious fashion.
yeah. They had
Um,
quite a soft schedule there, though. The first
yeah, they
11
did.
games, so
Yeah, they did.
one of the weakest in the league.
On to the AFC South. Buffalo knows them well from playoff experiences. They've faced every single in their past 4 playoff games before the Baltimore game. They played every single team in this division. And I like the moves really every single team did I like, apart from whatever's going on in Houston. The Colts re-signed Xavier Rhodes. He was great last year. I don't know. I was really good with Minnesota. I think in the Case Keenum year, had an off year for the next two. Went back to Indy and was really good. He gets a nice 1 year, 6.5 million. I guess prove that you're still legit contract. Marlon Mack re-signed, tore his ACL in September of 2020. So a good cheap deal to prove himself again. Nothing more. They trade for Carson Wentz, which I like. I know he was pretty bad last year, but that entire Phillies organization has gone to crap, really. I like Wentz because with Frank Reich in Philadelphia, made the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. I know wasn't with Wentz. If he didn't get hurt against the Rams in that Week 14 game, I think, or 13 game in December of 2018, he would have won MVP. So winning
No
MVP
doubt.
in your first few years as a quarterback, not many do it other than Mahomes and Lamar. But other than that, it's good. Hopefully he can get his career back on track because I like the guy. I don't feel bad for him really. He's Philadelphia just a mess. They
Yeah.
then they lost a few players. They lost Nico Autry, Brissett, Trayman Smith, Tavon Wilson. T.Y. Hilton's wide receiver. I know he tweets a lot of stuff. He tweeted a bunch of eyeball emojis about 45 minutes ago. Don't know what that means. I think I predicted it'll come back. They lost Rivers. Trey Burton is a hooker. Hooker Burton. They're all UFAs. My thoughts for them was after the Bills playoff game, they're a good team. They have a really good defense. Offense is what they needed to improve on. Great run game. But in the end, Phillip Rivers cannot keep up with what Buffalo had. Obviously, I think everyone knew that. He retires. Feel bad for him. Really wish he won a ring. He got screwed over by the Chargers many times and their kicker. He got very unlucky. I think they are an offense away or a good quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
I thought they would spend money this offseason improving the team, but then Ballard, who I think is a really good GM, he says he wants to I guess not overspend on players so that he can re-sign Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, and a few other players.
I do have some breaking news here. The Colts have just signed wide receiver T.Y. Hilton. They have re-signed him to a 1-year deal. I'm not sure how much it's worth, but they did re-sign him just now as we speak. So.
There you go. Yeah, wasn't surprised that was happening. They got Pascal and Pittman played great in the Buffalo game. They're good.
I think Pittman will take a massive step forward this year. He's been I think he's gonna have a breakout season. And be a true wide receiver. I mean, he could be a 1 or 2.
I think this team again, they get my early pick to win the division because I love what I saw from them. I just think Rivers was holding them back. The run game was fantastic. They almost beat Buffalo despite beating themselves up. So they will be good. Next on to is whatever's going down in Houston. I don't think anybody would care if they liquidated and stopped playing football completely. I don't think anyone would actually care with the Bill O'Brien stuff to now Watson having 12 or 24 women, I think, in 12 cases of sexual assault against him.
Yeah.
Don't know where that will go. It's just not a good spot for them when you have a franchise quarterback. Yeah, I know they did something to get that World Series title, and that probably was the sports god saying, the Houston Texans, you're bad now. You do not get any nice things.
Yeah. And I don't know the direction that they're going. Like you look at all the signings, they had a lot of signings. Like they had a lot of signings, 1-year deals, 2-year deals, with the exception of
they have
Cameron
about
Johnson, be punter.
Yeah, they have like 3 running backs that could be first or second players. Mark Ingram, Philip Lindsay. I like the Lindsay deal. He can be good. Desmond King, a 1 year. There's just a lot of prove it deals. I like Andre Roberts. He was a great returner for Buffalo.
Yeah.
It's hard to see him go, but he'll be good for them. Jordan Jenkins, I don't get I don't get their trajectory. I don't get what they want to do as an organization. Feel bad for the new head coach. He's put in an impossible situation where your franchise quarterback wants out. They lost Will Fuller. I do like what they did with JJ Watt. They said, you know what? We're not going to treat you like bad. You did a lot for us. Single-handedly won a playoff game a few years ago. You can get released. Don't like Arizona's contract they gave him, but I'm happy to see him actually play for an organization that seems to look like they'll build around him.
Yeah. I have no idea where they're going, and this has last in the division written all over it.
Yeah, it does.
All over it. Beat up by Jacksonville twice a year, all over it.
Yeah, especially if I think they were they the team that traded for Finley. I think they did trade.
I believe that the Texans did get Ryan Finley. So
yeah,
but I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with Deshaun Watson. It's an interesting conversation because they do keep him there. It's going to be I just feel bad for him, even though he does have the allegations against him. But they could send him to the Niners, to the Dolphins, anywhere.
Yeah,
But
I'm really mixed with them because I hate how I'm not the biggest fan of the NBA. It's because players, they always get super teams. They always fight their way out in a sense. You don't really see that in the NHL other than with Tavares or in the NFL. So it's new for the league. I don't remember the last time a superstar player who's 26, 25 on their first big payday try to force their way out. I I think the best fit for him is Carolina because they
yeah,
have a good young team. I know you wouldn't like that in the
I
division,
would not like that at all.
but he, I think that's the best fit. They need a quarterback, and or another good fit would be New York or Miami. I don't want that either.
Yeah.
But those are the three places. For the 49ers, I don't see how they had anywhere near enough to give up. Um, Carolina just seemed like the place where they have some players on the defense and offense that they can give up to get them. Next, moving on to
Yeah.
Tennessee. They won a playoff game. Oh no, they lost a playoff game after their miracle run a few years ago because of a defense not existing. It was horrible. Um, Lamar Jackson ran all over them as expected in that game. They signed Bud Dupree, like we said earlier, to a 5-year, $82.5 million contract. I, he's a good player, but it's a massive overpayment.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I think he'll do well, but again, it's just a ridiculous overpayment that hopefully, I hope for the sake of him and the team that he recovers from his injury and gets back to playing like a Pro Bowler that he did last year.
Yeah. I just don't. It's a long contract. It's a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really see um, the full intent behind it because I think he should have been gotten about 3 years and a bit less money than that. But
Yeah.
hopefully he does come back to his Pro
And
Bowl
then
form.
they go with Denico Autry, who's an older defensive end. It's okay, I guess. Buffalo
Yeah.
went down this road last offseason. It didn't end up really working out, signing older defensive linemen. They signed a tackle, Ty Sombrello, 1 year. Again, Morgan Cox, 1 year deals. They signed Janoris Jenkins and Josh Reynolds. Those contracts they could not find on Spotrac. They signed them. They lost Jonnu Smith. They lost Adoree Jackson, lost Desmond King, lost Corey Davis. Jonnu Smith, I'll talk about a signing in the next division. It's good, but I don't know. I think it's a lot of money. Adoree
Yeah.
Jackson, again, they want to change their defense. Corey Davis, they got AJ Brown, Desmond King. It didn't really work out. Their current UFAs are Clowney, Humphreys, Malcolm Butler, Kenny Vaccaro, Steven Gostkowski. Those were starters on their team last year. Clowney didn't work out, but I'd love to see what they do because, again, it looks like they could be going back to their 9-7 days unless Henry
Yeah.
goes God mode.
Yeah. Even if he does, I don't know if that would be enough to make up for the lack of good defensive play, and
Yeah.
just a mediocre quarterback in Tannehill. Tannehill's good, but he's not a top tier quarterback, obviously. But
Yeah, one second here. I think he was good last year. He was good the year before, but that run game really helps him out. And
yeah,
having a really good run game really helps. Now
yeah,
Jacksonville. I remember they beat Buffalo. They had that ridiculous year 2017, nearly beat the Patriots. And then everything went to hell. They I forget Coughlin, I think his name was the former Giants.
yeah. Tom Coughlin,
Coughlin.
right? Yeah,
He completely ruined what they had building there.
yeah.
But the best move I think they did was get rid of Doug Marrone. I think that was the
Oh
best
yeah,
move they made.
no question about
I
that.
don't know. I don't know if Urban Meyer is gonna do too well. Or he did good with Ohio State, but college is a completely different game than the NFL. His statement of already I think he said that he doesn't like how in free agency you don't meet with the players. If he goes by that, that's not going to go well because that's not what happens in the NFL. It's not like recruiting in the college game. But they made some good signings. Their defense was bad. I think everything was bad with that team last year. I don't think there's
Oh
any
yeah,
single strong point with that team. Shaquille Griffin, 3-year, $40 million deal. Rayshon Jenkins, 4-year, $35 million. Robertson Harris, 3 years, $23 million. Jamal Agnew, 3 years, $14 million. Marvin Jones, I like, veteran guy, help. Trevor Lawrence, I think he'll be Trevor Lawrence, barring a miracle. I don't know why they wouldn't take him. Carlos Hyde, not bad. Sidney Jones, they re-signed him. Still don't know the contract terms there. Philip Dorsett. They lost Keenan Cole, and Conley replaced him with Dorsett, Agnew, and Marvin Jones. I like it, I guess, but their big prize is on April 29th. And they
Yeah,
got 2 first-round picks, so it's good.
yeah, and I agree. I think they made a bunch of little signings here and there just to slightly fix it up. I don't think it's going to be much of an improvement. I think they still have a very high chance of being sub 500 this year, but it's going to be much closer to 500 than it was last year.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see Urban Meyer as the new head coach, because I just don't know what's going to happen with him. And I feel like the Jags only have a few years with Urban Meyer's. He has some health issues.
Yeah, he is.
So
I don't.
So it's going to be interesting. I don't know
Yeah.
if they will be able to win in that time.
I would not be surprised within 5 years they're playing at Wembley permanently. I would
Yeah.
not be surprised.
Yeah.
I hope maybe having Lawrence will trigger a new, because they had a lot of fans when they beat Buffalo that game. They on Twitter saw a bunch of new fans, and now they're all gone. That's what happens when
Mhm.
sports teams are good. We live
After
in
1 year.
Yeah, we live in Toronto. I think we all know all about that with sports fans and bandwagons. Now moving on to the AFC East, Buffalo. As a Bills fan, I'm wearing my jersey, my Josh Allen jersey. I like what they did. I like what they did. A second. I like what they did. They re-signed their key players. They didn't lose any significant players. They lost John Brown, who he was good in 2019. He was one of the reasons they made the playoffs, but he was getting older. They lost Quinton Jefferson, Tyler Kroft, Andre Roberts. Those aren't any big key impact players that I think they'll be worse. So they actually went on their, I think, 11-game winning streak. They didn't have Brown for a lot of it. He got hurt towards the end of the Arizona game, and they swept the table onto the AFC Championship game from that. They got Milano on a 4-year, $41 million deal. Amazing. Compare that to the Dupree deal of 5 years, $82 million.
Oh my! It's 1 less year and half the money. That is a fantastic deal. I think Milano, they had a slight advantage. I think Milano did want to stay.
Yeah, I think the best thing about this team, which is so weird, I know we're going to talk about hockey for a bit here. It's so weird how the Pagulas have such two different teams. One that's been garbage for 20 years, that's now in relevance. Another one that's been garbage for 20 years that has lost 14 games in a row.
Yeah.
There's no direction with with the Sabres. Talk about that probably another episode in the future. But with the Bills, they hit on Bean. They hit on Brandon Bean and McDermott. The reason these guys want to stay, and Isaiah McKenzie, who's their new returner, which is making the loss of Roberts not too bad. He said he got offers from a bunch of other teams. He didn't care about money. He just wanted to stay in Buffalo. And I don't remember the last time people could say that about wanting to play in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Like, Hollister, decent signing as one of their only really new guys. He's played with Allen in Wyoming. Feliciano and Williams back was big. The O-line they have this in the offseason, they never actually played in a single game altogether last year. So there's some injuries in the O-line. But Trubisky, I was a bit skeptical. I was like, why on earth are you signing?
I do too. Trubisky? I was going to say that.
But I like it because it's a 1-year deal. And he was a starter. He started a playoff game. You don't really – he was bad in the playoff game. He did win the MVP in the game. But I like it. He's a good backup for Allen.
I really like what the Bills did in free agency. I like the Trubisky signing. I think it's way better than a Matt Barkley or a Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm, I don't know what he's going to look like in the NFL, but Trubisky is so much better. He does have some playoff experience. As you said, he did not do very good in that game, but I really like the Emmanuel Sanders signing as well, just to replace John Brown as that 2 or 3 there. And Matt Milano, fantastic deal. And Hollister, he balled out in Seattle a couple years back, got injured, but I think it's a good contract for the amount of money that it is and a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I think this team had the 5th hardest schedule last year, tied for 5th. They went 13-3, didn't expect it. But this year, I still think they'll win the division. We'll talk about the Patriots. I think they still will win the division at like maybe 12-5 because it's 18 games now. 12-5 or 13-4 or whatever it is. I think they still will win a lot of games. Allen hopefully will continue to rise after his basic MVP type season last year. But it's good, really. I think the draft, I want Etienne. I don't really know how to say his name. Etienne. I want him in the 1st round because their run game last year really was lacking. I know when you have a MVP quarterback, one of the top 5 receivers in the game, a great slot receiver, you don't really need to run the ball a lot. But I think if they had a better run game, they had more, I guess, diversity, I'll call it, on the offense, they would have probably, I wouldn't say they beat Kansas City because no one was beating them except the Bucks. But
Yeah.
I think a run game would have helped. But in the draft, their main need is edge or running back.
Yeah.
They have Dane Jackson. I think will be a good second cornerback. I hope. And now moving on to the Patriots, who for the first time in my lifetime were awful. Brady wins a Super Bowl. Belichick gets all annoyed and spends a ridiculous amount of money in free agency. And the worst signing they did was Cam Newton, which is the reason they will
Oh my God.
maybe
Terrible signing.
make the playoffs, maybe. But I don't see how weapons are that cause for a quarterback who looked like he was throwing his arm out to throw it 10 yards downfield. Yes, he had
Yeah.
COVID. Yes, he had a big back injury, but I don't see. I think they will draft a quarterback in round one. I think that's the most logical decision. But Judon, what I did like what they did is the contracts they don't have big cap hits. They look big money wise. I don't like Judon for 4 years. I saw a bunch of Ravens fans saying he wasn't good. It took him a while to get his first sack. The cap was exploding here. Jalen Mills average, not great, not amazing. Henry's good. Smith is good. Aguilar is David Andrews,
Yeah.
that's a great re-signing. Show, don't know too much. Bourne is again, just like there's no superstar on that team.
It's like Houston, sort of like some of the later signings. Obviously, the Smith, Henry, Judon signings, Mills, but every other signing is basically like Houston type to me. It's just minor players, short deals. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like next year.
Yeah, they're worried. They do have Belichick, but Belichick, he didn't. If they had this class with players from 3 years ago, they could have at least had maybe 2 more Super Bowls or maybe one more, or at least 2 more appearances. I feel they really failed him, Brady, at the end of his tenure in New England with not getting weapons. I do not know how the team, looking back in 2018, won a Super Bowl. I don't know how.
Yeah. Edelman was their one
Edelman
wide
was their
receiver.
best receiver.
And they had like Philip Dorsett. Brady was throwing to Philip Dorsett. N'Keal Harry, I'm sorry, that is the biggest bust at wide receiver in the past couple of years.
Which is another reason this team, free agency, has been known. You do not win in free agency unless you sign the GOAT and his best friend.
And if you his other best friends, best friends.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't do that, free agency isn't the way to go. They need to draft better. James White, or not James White. They re-signed James White earlier today, so I had this dismissed. But Sonny Michel in the first round, not a good pick. He's okay. Helped them win the Super Bowl, but after that, really,
he's dropped off the last couple of years, to be honest. He I know is a bit injury riddled at times during the last 2 years, but he's really, like, when he's coming back, he's just really not that great of a player. He's definitely not an RB1. So
yeah, I don't really know what else to say too much about it. They lost Thuney to the Chiefs, 5 years, $80 million. They lost Chung to retirement. They have Lawrence Guy, McCourty, Burke as their current big time UFAs. Cam Newton's the quarterback, and that's why they will not. They may make the playoffs because it's 7 teams, depending how strong the AFC is, depending how well, let's say, the New York Jets, I know they're bad, depending on how well they end up doing. Miami, they missed the playoffs. The Raiders, the Chargers. There's a lot of up-and-coming teams, and it feels when a team spends a lot of money in free agency to fill holes, it could work and it can't. So it's 50-50. I think their ceiling is like, it depends on Cam Newton. If Cam Newton goes back to this week 1 Seattle performance, which I think now looking back, it had a lot to do with Seattle's terrible defense in the first part of last year.
No doubt.
But if he can do that, they should be okay for next season. I don't think he will. Like, I don't know. I don't remember the last time a quarterback who is in his late 20s, early 30s, throw 10 touchdowns and then win a division the next year.
Yeah.
Outplaying a MVP from the year before.
I don't remember he's a run. He's more of a run first guy. Like, I don't know. They're going to be an interesting team to watch next year. They're going to be one of the top interesting teams to watch. I don't know if they will be a good team in the AFC East, especially with having to play Buffalo twice a year. They're going to get destroyed probably.
And Moving on, or I'll go to Miami because we're on the topic of good AFC East teams. Miami last year, I didn't think they'd do well. Then I never really bought the hype to them because of Tua and Fitzpatrick. I don't like what Flores did. I like Flores; he's a good coach, but I do not like the Fitzpatrick Tua type thing. If you're gonna start your guy like Fitzpatrick, start him. Don't ruin Tua's confidence. Yank him in a game and then call Fitzpatrick the closer. That's not football. This is not baseball. You trust your starter all throughout the game. And I'm not on the Tua bus because I'm a Bills fan. I'm not calling a quarterback a bus after their first season unless
Fair
they're horrible. Players grow at different rates. Tua, he did have some weapons last year, but I think they're gonna have to improve on that, and they did. I like Fuller. I think he's a good player. He'll help the wide receiver room. They got the third or fourth overall pick. One of those
Yeah,
two.
be from Houston, the dumpster
Yeah.
fire that is the Texans.
And they can possibly take a franchise tackle like they had with Tunsil traded him. They lost Van Noy, interesting signing. I liked it last year. They released him. He went back to the Evil Empire in New England. They lost Fitzpatrick, which
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how that works out in Washington. I like Fitzpatrick. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Brian Fitzpatrick. I hope he makes the playoffs. Maybe him in that Bills game in Week 17 maybe goes a bit differently. But the reason I lost that game is they couldn't stop Matt Barkley from scoring 27 points. So
yeah. I do want to add a couple things about the Dolphins, if that's right. I really like Will Fuller. That is it. If he stays off the PEDs, obviously he's suspended for the first game next year. But that is a fantastic deep threat. I'm not ready to call Tua a bust yet. It's his first year. There were some issues in that quarterback room. I don't think there's just issues of who's going to start. A lot of in and out. Some of the time it was very comical actually in that Raiders game when they brought Fitzpatrick in for the last play of the game. And then he throws with
like his arm half back. I don't.
Yeah. But you do. Some people are forgetting that Tua's come off a major injury.
Yeah, he got his hip destroyed.
Yeah, but the people are forgetting that. So we'll give him next year and we'll see what happens. But I think I think that it's going to be a big improvement with
I
some
think
good
it will
signings. Yeah, and they're going to look. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think they should go for Watson the term and they're in an impossible spot. You don't want to waste the 5th pick last year.
Exactly.
Sure, you're not wasting. You're getting Watson, but then mortgaging the future. You have a first round pick this year. That's 3rd overall. I think it's 3rd, and then in the late teens. If you draft well, those are 2 cornerstone players. I think they should pick. I like the tackle because they didn't improve the O-line a lot. Matt Skura, he's not very good. I'm pretty sure he had snapping issues.
Yeah.
With Baltimore, Brissett, okay, backup, but I think they need to improve in the trenches a bit more. I think they will do that come draft time.
Yeah, I agree.
They I think will finish 2nd. I'm going to give them 2nd above New England, behind Buffalo next year. And now the New York Jets. I don't know. They're a comical team as well from last season. Seeing them almost beat the Raiders, calling all a blitz, get the coach fired a day later, still be in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, then to win 2 of their final few games. I don't know. I like Carl Lawson though. That's a good signing. He's I think 25. That's a good signing. 3 years, $45 million. Not a massive overpayment like Hendrickson or Dupree. Corey Davis is good. That's a lot of money though. I don't know how good he is. Sheldon Rankins is good. Keelan Cole, good as well. They lost Pat Elfine or whatever his name is to Carolina. I don't know. I think they could have done a bit more in terms of wide receivers. Corey Davis is good, but I don't know how good he is. I think they should have been after Juju or Galladay a bit harder. Apparently Corey Davis came into to the New York Jets, I guess, organization with the idea that why am I forgetting his name? Who's the quarterback? Look at his name.
Oh, the quarterback, Sam Darnold.
Darnold. No, I forgot his name. Darnold. I think he said he will be the quarterback next year. I don't know. He got ruined by Gase. That's all I can say about that. Their biggest thing again was a new head coach, Robert Saleh.
I like that design. I like that
Yeah,
hiring.
again, best thing that they did was the new head coach.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be better. I think they're gonna be better than they were last year. I still don't see them moving up. I still see them finishing last but I mean, come draft time, if they make some good picks, I could see them improving greatly next year. So
Yeah, I don't know what to do at that second overall pick. I really don't know if they should take Fields or Wilson. With the second overall pick, you really want
yeah,
a quarterback who you know is going to do well, especially when you were 2-14. You want to
yeah,
know that you're not drafting a player who's a project. You want a now good quarterback, and they don't get that with Lawrence. So I don't know if they should just wait till next year and see who's available next
yeah,
season, and then stick with Darnold.
yeah,
But they're in a tough spot.
for
Um,
sure.
I always find out how hilarious if people thought they could challenge for the division last year in the offseason.
Yeah,
And then they horrible. Okay, now on to Kansas City, the AFC champions. They did what every team who is coming off two back-to-back Super Bowl appearances does. No big flashy signings other than Thuney, but they got Thuney because they got rid of half their own line, it seemed like, which was the reason they lost the Super Bowl. So I don't know what they're doing well there. They gave Juju a contract. Didn't want to go there. I don't know what's wrong. I know. I
I
guess
don't get that.
I guess he really cares about nightlife because Missouri, Kansas, nothing really to do compared to Pittsburgh. But then you gave I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess he really liked Pittsburgh. I guess he really liked the locker room there with his TikTok buddy.
yeah,
But
yep.
other than
Chase
that,
Claypool and the boys.
I don't know. I like Remmers decent. Thuney good. That's a good guard. Sorensen's they re-signed him, who hit Higgins in that championship or the divisional round.
Yes.
They lost Fisher. Sammy Watkins went to see the Ravens today and is seeing the Colts. They're probably going to lose him. Okafor, Brashad Breeland, Damian Wilson. They released Williams, Demarcus Robertson, Hileke Osmelly, Anthony Sherman, Le'Veon Bell. They lost a lot of players, but that's what happens when you go to two Super Bowls in a row. You can't keep everybody, especially with the cap shrinking by I think 10 million or so this year. You can't really do anything.
Yeah. I do like what they did. They did lose a lot of players, obviously due to the cap. But I mean, Tooney's a good signing. I think they just need to go draft good. They need to fix the offensive line, I think, because we destroyed them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that
in
was
that way.
it was Super Bowls. The last really good Super Bowl we had in terms of non-blowout was the Philadelphia one.
Yeah.
I guess that was a good Super Bowl, but I guess the Chiefs 49ers was not a blowout in terms
Mm-hmm.
of, but it became interesting in the end.
It's
But
a good comeback.
last year's was just funny. I
Yeah.
went to the game not wanting
I
Kansas. I came into the game wanting Kansas City to win. Then I'm like, you know what? They embarrassed Buffalo 2 weeks ago on national television,
yeah,
and
you did
then
switch up in halftime.
yeah, and then Allen got fined for throwing a football at someone else's head.
Yeah.
And then
I
I
know.
just was like, you know what? And then Nick Wright on Twitter also made me not like the Chiefs. His extreme cockiness.
Yes.
And whenever teams become, I guess, dynasties, I'll call it, their fan base has become insufferable.
Yeah.
With the Chicago Blackhawks from the first half of the
Oh my
2010s,
gosh,
they were
man.
horrible.
Yeah.
The Yankees fans are already like that.
Yeah.
They
It's
they
just
haven't been a dynasty for a while, but teams with a lot of success, even including Montreal, even
yes.
any
And the
team,
Leafs, I'll admit
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I mean, not since the 60s, but
but they have some sort of historical success. But the Chiefs fan base
yeah.
became insufferable. Tampa Bay
Yeah.
killed them.
Oh my gosh. That was a great game. I
Yeah, that
thought it was
was.
gonna be so close. I said Tampa was gonna win. But I thought it was gonna be close. I knew it was gonna be close, and then it wasn't
Mhm.
close. So, but I think the Chiefs need to address some wide receiver. They have Tyreek Hill. They did lose Sammy Watkins and Demarcus Robinson. So
Mhm.
it's going to be interesting to see what they do at the wide receiver position because Tyreek Hill and what's his name? McCole Hardman cannot do
Yeah,
that by
I
themselves. They need
think
another guy in there.
I think they'll draft I think they'll draft another receiver, but I don't really know what they can do.
Yeah.
I think they still will win this division. Moving on to Denver, who their biggest move was re-signing cornerstone safety Justin Simmons, 4 years, 61 million. Good signing. I like it. Kyle Fuller as well. Chicago, that is an interesting team. They got rid of him. Ronald Darby, I like 3 years, 3 million. I was surprised to see that that amount of money going to him. But again, this isn't a New England type team and a Miami type team where it all depends on the quarterback play. If Drew Lock plays like he did last year, they'll miss the playoffs. He has so many weapons, but if he takes the next step forward, they will. I think they really regret not drafting Josh Allen now.
Yeah.
In 2017. I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing with Allen, I don't know if he would have developed as well, but you missed out on a MVP quarterback.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
else to say.
Drew Lock has to play better. That's what I have to say about the Broncos. They need better quarterback play desperately. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, let's see if Elway sways away from his tall white quarterback.
Yes.
Love-hate relationship. Because they won a Super Bowl with one of the worst Super Bowl winning quarterbacks of all time in his current form. Manning, not saying he's bad, I'm just saying the way he was playing. The AJ Bowie and Tim Patrick, free agents. They lost Atachu and Lindsey. I don't know. They're a team that is in the middle. They could either be 10-6 or 4-12. Los Angeles. I like what LA did. I like Herbert. Skeptical of him coming out of Oregon, but I like what he's done in the NFL. One of my favorite non-Bills quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Corey Linsley, great signing. A lot of money for a late 20s, early 30s center, but they needed him. 5 years, $62 million. Matt Filer, 3 years, $21 million. They replaced Hunter Henry with Jared Cook. Good. I think what they did was good.
Yeah. I think they did a bit to address the tight end situation after losing Hunter Henry to the Patriots, signing Jared Cook. He's a good guy to have on a 1-year deal. I don't like him because he was a former Saints guy, but it is what it is.
Well, he helped you go to the championship game with a nice fumble.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That completely changed that game.
Yeah.
Melvin Ingram, UFAs, Trey Turner, Casey Hayward. Again, they're like Denver in December. It's not really depending on the quarterback. It's depending on can they not go full Chargers and lose games in hilarious fashion like they did last year. Like,
oh my gosh,
they got rid of the coach, which is good, but that so many times I look on Twitter and they lose in a hilarious ending on the last few seconds. In Buffalo, you get 2 Hail Marys in a row. One called back, 4th and 20, another one, and you run the ball with 13 seconds to go with no timeouts.
Yeah, and they choked a 24-7 lead at halftime to the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to lose that game for sure at halftime. I was
then run the ball, fumble.
Yeah. Herbert played fantastic last year. He was a top 5 MVP candidate, in my opinion. He should have been.
He was really good.
He was definitely in that consideration. Anthony Lynn, horrible coach. I'm sorry. Terrible time management at the end of games and just bad play calling throughout the game. So I do like that they got rid of him. And I think that they did. I think I have a crazy stat here. They were the only team that did not go to the playoffs that lost a certain amount of games by 1 possession.
Yeah.
So
that's a story of the Chargers. It's been for years. Incredible.
They turned losing into an art.
Yeah. Brandon Staley, the new head coach, Rams defensive coordinator. I like it a lot. I think he's great for that. Rams defense was fantastic. He should be good. But I like Anthony. He's a good guy. He's an interim head coach in Buffalo a few years back, but just not a good head coach. I don't know where he is right now, but I hope he eventually gets a job as a sort of
coordinator.
Yeah, coordinator. He's better fit as a coordinator because the time management, horrible. I remember they tried to get a field goal out and they couldn't even get it off at the end of a half. And then,
I remember that. I was watching
the Falcons during that. I don't remember which game it was, but it was just comical on that team. And they're probably my second AFC team. The Minnesota, I don't know why they just are. And I hope they do well.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's a great receiver. But now on to Las Vegas, who again, I'm gonna bunch them in with the Patriots and the Texans.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't either. Oh my gosh. Yannick Ngakoue, Kenyon Drake, John Brown, Quentin Jefferson, Daniel Carlson, the re-sign. I
Incognito,
d-
who threatened to kill
yeah,
somebody after a funeral.
yeah,
Love to know why he's still playing in the league. I don't understand.
yeah.
They ban players for smoking weed and then let someone who tried to kill somebody or something at a funeral
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
I don't get
And
it.
and they got Solomon Thomas. I don't, and it's the exact same as the Texans. 2 years, 2 years, the
Yeah,
rest 1 year.
not
They
one
lost
contract over
Aguilar.
3 years. Lost
Yeah,
Aguilar, lost McKinley, lost Williams.
yeah.
I
I just don't understand like the mindset of John Gruden. Like it's gonna be another around 500 season for them. I
yeah,
don't see
it's
them improving. I don't see them getting worse. I and I
and
I don't know what the situation with Josh Jacobs is gonna look like after what happened with him, the DUI, I think it was.
yeah,
So
I like Jacobs though. Remember at the draft, what that's interesting what they do at the draft. They always share a backstory, and his backstory was nice, being basically homeless, going to Alabama. But
yeah,
it's interesting. So that finishes off the AFC. And for my winner in this division, it's tough. There's a lot of teams that did really well in terms of keeping the group together. Buffalo did a really good job at keeping everybody together. Emmanuel Sanders, great replacement of John Brown, great route runner. Other than that, I like what Indianapolis did with that new quarterback. I think they took, in my opinion, the biggest step. I think depending on Wentz plays. Cleveland did a really good job as well with their secondary. So I'm going to go with Cleveland as my. I'll pick a few: Cleveland, Buffalo, Indy. They all did really, really well. Um, Jacksonville picks up some holes. New England did really. I'm going to go with New England as the winner based on paper. Because you can always declare an
yeah.
offseason winner and who signed the best players. That all depends how they play in quarterback play. Biggest losers, Baltimore.
Oh,
And
no question about
I
it.
know they probably will still make the playoffs, probably still go 10-7, I think it is, or 11-6, whatever the
Yeah,
new records
17
are.
game. Yeah,
They'll
yeah.
they'll be good.
I
But I just
I would
don't
have to
think
agree with you.
yeah, I don't
Sorry, go
think they did
ahead.
good. I don't think they did enough. We'll do this again come draft. The draft recap will pick up the biggest winner in the offseason come
Yeah,
draft. But unless they move up and pick like Jamar Chase or somebody, which they won't do, they don't
yeah,
have a good wide receiver group.
yeah. That would have to be my loser as well. And the Bengals, man, that is
Yeah,
another
okay,
loser
those two,
for
the
me.
Bengals,
Yeah,
and first off, for not firing their head coach.
yes,
He's not looked good. They tried to get McVay 2.0, failed miserably.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but Burrow is running for his life with the loss of a really good veteran target who wanted to leave. Happy he did leave,
yeah.
but I don't get it.
There's just no future for him. Yeah, they did nothing. They really did nothing minus the signing of Riley Reef to improve the O line. Um, Brandon Allen re-signing, I guess, good backup QB. But Joe Burrow's gonna be running for his life next year,
Yeah, like
and
I
he's not
like
gonna be running as fast
yeah,
because of his injury.
yeah, I like the defensive signings. Right, the
Yeah,
defensive signings are good, but it's not what they needed. It
yeah,
doesn't matter how
exactly.
bad your or how good your defense is. If your quarterback has barely any time to throw to, barely any good receivers, he's not going to succeed. And I hope their new jerseys can make up for what has been a bad offseason so far.
Yeah,
Okay, now on
I
the NFC. Your turn
all
to
right. So here we will start. Sorry, just give me a second. The NFC, we're going to start with the NFC North. So we're going to go to the NFC losers, the Green Bay Packers, who the Buccaneers beat last year. They didn't do too much. They did re-sign running back Aaron Jones before the tampering period, 4 years, 48 million, which is an okay signing. They're committed to him. And they did re-sign Kevin King, who got just today, I believe, who did get burned by Scotty Miller and Mike Evans
with
and
2 seconds
cost
remaining
yeah,
in a
and
championship game.
yeah, and Drew caused the Buccaneers to get a pass interference call after grabbing Tyler Johnson's shirt. I guess it's a redemption deal for him because it's just a 1 year
Mhm.
contract, 6 million. But they did lose center Corey Linsley to the Chargers, 5 years, 62.5 million. They did lose Jamal Williams, their RB2, which is okay, to the Lions, 2 years, 6 million, because I think AJ Dillon can step up and fill that number 2
Yeah.
spot behind Aaron Jones. And they also did lose Christian Kirksey to the dumpster fire, the Texans,
Houston.
1 year, 4.5 million. They did give Aaron Jones a lot of money, so I think they're gonna have to go a bit cheaper at other positions like wide receiver. But yeah, they didn't do too much,
Yeah.
and yeah,
That organization reminds me of the Patriots from the mid 2010s, late 2010s. They're not helping thing. They're not helping Rodgers. Picking
Yeah.
a quarterback in the first
Trading
round.
up, nonetheless.
You're
Trading
trading
up
up
for him.
for a quarterback. Yes, if they got, let's say, I don't remember who went that late, but let's say they got T. Higgins, who was an early
Yeah.
second round pick, or any, if they moved up a bit more to pick Rager or Jefferson,
Yeah.
that
Or they
team
just
could
stay
have,
where they were. Yeah. And got Higgins,
stay
right?
where they were. That team could have beat Tampa in the championship game. I was skeptical of Tampa going to the Super Bowl because of the way they won all their other playoff games. Brady wasn't really shining star, but
Yeah.
other ways of the
The
team
defense
helped.
was the
Yeah. And
yeah,
then,
and
but
we'll get to that because I have a
yeah,
lot to say about the Bucks,
yeah.
obviously.
Um,
And let's move on. Any other thoughts on the Packers?
just one more thing. They'll probably win the division again. I like Minnesota. I like what they did.
Yeah,
They did a really good offseason with a few of their signings, but I don't know. Like the wide receiver core, Will Fuller should have been their priority.
yeah, or Galladay or
Yeah,
Juju or
even
someone.
even somebody, some other wide receiver to get attention away.
Yeah, and
There,
one more thing about the Packers, I thought Aaron Rodgers did. I got to give him credit. He did a fantastic job for what he had last year.
yeah,
Like outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, he had
hmm
merely no weapons on offense. Like you had Marquez Valdez Scantling,
hmm
Robert Tonyan at tight end. Like your primary tight end was Robert Tonyan. So
yeah.
I
And
want
one
to give him
MVP with all
credit where
that,
it's due. Yeah, I do want to give him credit where it's due for doing what he did, obviously. And
and then
now the Detroit
Lions.
Lions.
That's
They yeah.
interesting team.
So they re-signed defensive end Romeo Cora, 3 years, 39 million. They did get Packers running back Jamal Williams, as previously mentioned. They traded for Rams defensive end Michael Brockers. They signed Rashad Perriman, and obviously they now have Jared Goff in the starting quarterback spot. And they did lose Kenny Galladay to the Giants, Marvin Jones to the Jags, and Matt Prater to the Cardinals. They did make some good signings on defense, and they got a good running back. And I just don't know who their wide receiver is going to be now. I don't
Yeah,
understand the wide receiver position right now with the Lions.
yeah. Lost Gall. They lost Marvin Jones. Their head coach wants to like rip off kneecaps of players.
Yeah, I saw that video.
I don't know what is going on with Detroit. I hope they get back up to being a good team. Okay, I like the Goff signing in terms of he's a placeholder. He's gonna
Yeah,
hold the quarterback spot as a mediocre quarterback for 2 years.
yeah,
When they become bad enough to draft a top 5 pick and a good quarterback, I think they will.
yeah,
The Brockers thing with Goff is hilarious, saying that
yeah.
Stafford's a level up, then having to personally text him saying it's not what I meant
Yeah.
is incredibly embarrassing. The lost
Yes.
Galladay, which I don't know why they wouldn't franchise tag him. I don't
Yeah.
understand that there. I like what they did with the
Yeah.
defense, but again, it's
Yeah.
feel bad for
I
Lions
really
fans.
like the Aquara re-signing.
Mhm.
But I again just circling back to the wide receiver, I really don't know where they go from here. Goff is one of the best game managers in football. So
I really think instead of taking cornerback, forget his name, cornerback at 3rd overall, they should have
Fields.
picked no, last year's draft. They shouldn't have taken
Oh, yeah, yeah.
defense in round 1,
Oh,
especially
I thought you
corner.
said quarterback. Sorry.
Corner.
Yeah.
They should have taken Herbert or someone else because if you knew you were going to trade Stafford a year later, why not
Yeah.
draft a quarterback to sit behind him for a year? I don't get it
Yeah.
there. They should have
And
taken Herbert.
Stafford was waiting to be gone, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
there was no
Uh,
future for him in Detroit. All right. All right. Let's move on to the Vikings. I really like what they did.
it's
They
Jeff
signed,
Okuda, by the way. Jeff
yeah.
Okuda, I saw they picked
Yeah,
him
yeah.
at 3.
I thought you said quarterback. That's
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
I don't get that. Like you don't
Yeah.
really draft a defensive back that high.
Yeah.
Now
He's a great player in college and he's okay in the NFL, but I
still young,
just
but I really think they should have got Herbert.
yeah.
Anyways, now moving on, you said to
Yeah. To the
Minnesota.
Vikings, who I really liked. Actually, they got Giants defensive tackle Davlin Thompson on a 2-year deal, 22 million. They got Cardinals corner Patrick Peterson, 1-year deal, 10 million. I really like him as a short-term solution. But they did lose Kyle Rudolph, Riley Reef, and Anthony Harris. But I really like the Tomlinson signing. It's a good signing for them on defense. And the Peterson signing is a really good short-term bet for them as
Yeah,
quarterback
that's
or
same for
corner.
me.
Sorry.
They were bad last year due to injuries.
Yeah.
Their defense was banged up. I like Jefferson. That Jefferson Diggs trade, in my opinion, is one of the best in the NFL in terms of
Yeah.
both teams
benefiting, right?
benefiting. It's a great trade. I like Jefferson. Tomlinson's great. Peterson's great. Losing Rudolph is bad, but you have Irv Smith Jr., who a lot of
Yes.
Vikings fans are high on. He's coming up.
Yeah.
Reef, you can probably get a new tackle in the draft.
In the draft. Yeah.
But other than that, really good. I think they can challenge for that division.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, that's all. I
All
don't really have
right.
anything more to say. Chicago
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the Bears. They didn't do too much, which
Yeah.
seems to be a problem for them.
Yeah, big problem.
They used the franchise tag on Allen Robinson.
Poor guy.
It's a confusing thing. Like, obviously they would have wanted to retain him, but I did not see him coming back.
No, I thought he was gone too.
Yeah. And they signed quarterback Andy Dalton, and reportedly they told him that if you come here, you're going to be a starting quarterback. So Andy Dalton looks to be the starter.
Yeah,
I don't think Nick Foles is going to start anymore.
I don't get it.
No.
My buddy's dad is a Bears fan. He didn't really like the moves either. It's so funny how they were a 40-yard field goal away from a divisional round appearance.
Yeah.
Doinked it, Parkey, and now they're back into the abyss of being bad. McCaskies, they are not good owners. Let me finish up this thing. Dalton isn't. I don't understand how teams look at a average to bad quarterback in his mid to early 30s and say, you know what, let's give the starter role to you. This could definitely not end up horribly.
Oh my god!
They did it with Mike Glennon a few years ago, and they've done it. Yes, a less deal. Yeah, less term. I think for Dalton. I think it's just a 1-year deal. I hope at least, but I don't know.
Yeah, and they took on Nick Foles' monster contract last year for what, right? For him to sit behind Andy Dalton of all people. Yeah. And they did lose Roy Robertson Harris, Kyle Fuller, and obviously Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
My closing thoughts on this, I just think they're gonna end up trading Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I think they will too. There's no way they're
gonna shop him.
He was a great signing from Jacksonville a few years ago when they won the division. But then Trubisky, the development from me just went completely. This is why development in quarterback is so important. Josh Allen would have not had an MVP season if he went anywhere other than Buffalo. I'm convinced that is why he's an MVP now type quarterback, because of the team around him, the willingness to support the quarterback with Diggs, Brown, Beasley, something Baltimore hasn't done yet for thing. And Trubisky's wasn't good. They really messed up that pick. Trading up.
And they could have got Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes, I don't think Mahomes would have been as good, but Watson would have been.
He still would have been a way better option.
Yeah, way better option than Mitch, and now Andy Dalton.
He quarterback Deshaun Watson in that draft too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just confusing to me.
Yeah, until the McCaskey sell that team or they fire Pace, they're
I think that the Bears have a good chance to finish last in the North.
The worst thing for that team was to go to the playoffs, because then you look at the playoff. I guess the owners will say, you know what, we made the playoffs. I don't care how bad we did. We made the playoffs, and that's the goal every single season. We got the extra TV revenue from making the playoffs. We're just gonna say, you know, okay, not fire the coach, not fire the GM when that was needed. You don't go from winning the division to being complete trash and it's been at 2 seasons without some sort of organizational screw up, and that's what happened. Now the Bucks.
All right, let's go to the Bucks here. So they re-signed linebacker Shaq Barrett, 4 years, $68 million. Great move. Used the tag on Godwin. They re-signed Levante David, 2 years, $25 million. They got Gronk back, 1 year, $8 million. They re-signed Ryan Suckup. I am thrilled about this pick because now we have a good
kicker. You have a kicker.
Oh my God!
From Roberto Aguayo, from Aguayo to
Matt Gay
to Chantazario.
Oh my
yard
God.
Field goal to nailing a 57-yard field goal. Like that's what I'm so thankful for Buffalo. During my time as watching them, they haven't really had a kicker who has been garbage. Hauschka towards the end was bad.
Yeah.
But kickers are really important. You do not win a Super Bowl without a really good kicker.
Yeah. And he did a great job this year. We locked him up for 3 years, $12 million. Great signing. I think I hate to sound like this. It's an underrated sign. It's a kicker, but
it's really good. Kickers are important.
Yeah. And ever since the Bucks had Matt Bryant, we have not had consistent kicking. Ever since we let him go to the Falcons, we have not had a single good
Yeah,
kicker.
spending a
So
second round pick on Aguero, something I do in
yeah,
Madden that I rig so the
yeah,
kicker's good.
yeah.
Like,
I don't know what we were thinking at that point.
yeah.
And they also just made some good depth signing, re-signing defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roches, great depth piece to fill in for Vita Vea when he broke his leg last year. And they did re-sign just today
Dominican
defensive
Sue.
tackle and Dominican Sue, and they extended
Yeah.
Donovan Smith, who played out of his mind in the playoffs this year, I think. And he's a great player. But they did lose Joe Hag, who did not catch a pass in the Super Bowl. He had the opportunity to catch the pass in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, and Andrew Adams to the Eagles. But I really, really like what Jason Light and the front office did with BA and all them. They retain all the free agents. They kept it back together. And it's not like Gronk obviously is getting old. Levante David's getting old, but they also kept our pieces that are going to be great in the future, so like Shaq Barrett, Chris Godwin, them. But the only really pending free agents right now are Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown, Tom Brady's buddy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't know. I think we should go with the running back in the draft and just draft for depth. Sorry, because we just got the gang back together.
Yeah, that's what Buffalo did. That's why I think the Buccaneers, also one of the best teams in free agency wise in the NFC, due to just getting the gang back together. Won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is re-sign your players.
Yeah.
Sure, they're older, but that's what happens when your quarterback is almost 45 years old.
Yeah.
You need to sign your players.
And obviously we extended Brady, which makes a bit more cap room. So, but we didn't really bring anyone in new. Like we just kept it together.
Yeah,
and
that's what you got to do as a Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They're going to win the division because what would be funny is if Winston won the division in New Orleans. I would laugh.
It's not going to happen. I think the Saints are going to finish third in the division. That's because they're in cap hell. And they just don't uncertainty at the quarterback situation. They lost a lot of their guys a couple of their guys on defense. I just don't know what the Saints are going to do, which I love to see, obviously, but
I don't like them either. From Bounty Gate getting completely destroyed by the Vikings in 2 seasons, and then to this year getting embarrassed against the Buccaneers when they really should have won that game. Their defense played great. That was in their hands, and then they just let it all go.
Yeah, and I just really like what Jason Light did. And I'm glad we kept our coordinators. Yeah. I'm glad we kept Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles because they are fantastic coordinators.
It's so funny in this league that Todd Bowles goes from being an awful, awful head coach to being a fantastic coordinator.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Go back to Buffalo for a second. The best thing they did was keeping Brian Daboll.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I don't know how. Too. Well, I think Brandon Beane mentioned this. I really think the NHL or the NFL coaching hiring period should be after the Super Bowl because Brian Daboll was robbed of a head coaching gig. Same with Eric Bieniemy and the Chiefs because they both went to the championship game. Yeah. They were robbed because Bieniemy and Daboll should be head coaches.
Yeah.
But then
and probably Byron Leftwich too.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying.
I'm not complaining.
The reality, right?
The reality of it is those are great coordinators who will help them do well. Now, New Orleans kind of mentioned them.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Aints. Franchise tagged safety Marcus Williams. They used the franchise tag on Marcus Williams. They re-signed
famous
Jameis Winston, and they also re-signed offensive lineman James Hurst. They did lose Trey Hendrickson to the Bengals, Sheldon Rankins to the Jets, and Jared Cook to the Chargers, obviously. I like how they tagged Williams, but I just don't understand the QB situation.
I don't either. I was never a fan of Taysom Hill. I never bought into his hype.
Same.
I know he's a gadget, Bean's gadget, but I don't get it. He's not gonna win you, and he played really well in that game against the Vikings in 2019, the wild card round. But he's not a franchise guy. I've seen YouTube videos of him being like a franchise quarterback, and he's like 27 years old.
Yeah, it's not. He's older. He's in his. I think he's 30.
Yeah, and then they work the cat magic, signing him to a 4-year, $160 million deal. But then 3 years of it's voidable. So they work around. Teams are front offices are so smart with working around cap problem, but they are screwed. Losing Hendrickson, Rankins,
no doubt.
Cook. Their
I don't
window,
understand.
they did not improve their defense in the early 2010s when the
Yeah.
Falcons and Panthers were ruling that division. They didn't do enough. Their defense was horrible through I think 12 through 15 or the 12
Yeah.
through 16. Finally got a good defense in 2017. Really were screwed out of going to the Super Bowl. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
they were screwed out of it. I
Yeah.
playing at the time. They probably could have. I think they would have beat New England, but then again, you go back to don't throw an interception in overtime and you will win. But
Yeah.
their window's gone,
Yeah.
and
It's over. They're in cap hell now, and they have barely any good players. Like I just don't understand.
yeah,
Like
slant boy.
I don't know. Yeah,
They
they
have
got.
him.
I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I know this is not a free agency topic, but I
Yeah,
don't know what they're gonna do with Michael Thomas because he sits on Twitter all day and cries.
yeah. Reminds of me, but I am not an NFL player.
Same. All right. All right. Any other thoughts or
No,
good to move
except that
on?
they're not going to do well. If they,
Yeah.
if
Third in the division.
I was not a fan of them last year. I was surprised when they won 9 in a row. I was like, they went 0-2. I'm like, yeah, that's the team. They're
Yeah.
not, or not. They went
Yeah.
like 1-3. Like they're not a good team. They're past
Yeah.
their time, and it showed in the playoffs that
Oh
they were
yeah.
well past their time.
Especially in the game against the Bucks where
Yeah,
Drew Brees just oh my
yeah.
that
I
was a
felt bad
terrible
for him at that point,
performance.
but it's like,
It was a terrible
he
performance.
should have retired a year before. It's like Big Ben.
Yeah.
Big Ben's going to go out this year and absolutely suck,
Yeah.
costing the
All
team any
right.
chance. Moving on now to
All right.
Carolina.
Yeah, now to Carolina. A move I really like that they did. They did franchise tag offensive tackle Taylor Moton. That's a really good move, underrated, I think, actually. They signed Jets offensive guard Pat Elflein. They signed Chargers linebacker Denzel Perriman, and they signed another linebacker from the Cardinals, Hassan Riddick.
I like their signings.
Yeah, but they
And
did lose
yeah, they
Curtis
lost Samuel.
Samuel. They did lose Chris Manhertz, and they did lose Mike Davis,
And Mike
who
Davis
was
was
a
my fantasy.
force to be reckoned with when McCaffrey got hurt.
Yeah, in fantasy for about 2 weeks, he was my only good uh halfback there.
Yeah.
Good.
And
I don't
and
know.
I just don't Elfline is good would be a good signing if it was for 3 years. I just
Yeah,
don't
the
know the
money
length
there
of
is
the
a lot.
contract. Yeah. I don't understand that. And they're gonna need a bit more wide receiver help with Curtis Samuel gone, obviously.
Mhm. I
And
do think
probably an RB2.
I do
Because
think they should trade for Watson. I think they have a
yes.
younger up and coming college coach who wasn't too bad last year. They're the most or they're the best fit. They got
Yeah.
DJ Moore at wide receiver. He'll be a great wide receiver
Robbie
one. Hopefully,
Anderson.
Robbie Anderson, yeah, he was
Yeah.
really good last year. The
Yeah.
Jets are so dumb for letting him go.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. The terrible
especially
franchise.
if they got Lawrence, it would have been okay, but they
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. And
Um,
I just really liked last year. I really like Matt Rule as much as I don't like the Panthers. I really like Matt Rule. I think he's a great coach. He's a good fit. He built a good culture, and they had a good wide receiver trio: Samuel, Anderson, and Moore, obviously. But now they don't have Samuel anymore, and I
yeah,
just think get a running back number two,
yeah,
and just make some slight improvements to the defense, and they're pretty good,
and
obviously.
yeah. Let's move on to the Falcons. Can't be much to say about the Falcons here.
Yeah, they
They
did almost nothing.
that poor state. That
Oh my
state.
gosh. It's just they traded
This.
for tight end Lee Smith. They got
Thank
Brandon
you,
Copeland.
thank you for taking Lee
Yes.
Smith for a seventh
Yes.
round pick. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. They got Brandon Copeland and they just signed Mike Davis. They do have
Lost,
limited cap though. They're not as bad as the Saints, obviously, with
yeah,
their
but they're
cap
bad.
situation, but it's pretty bad down there. And I don't know. And they lost Alex Mack and Keanu Neal.
Which for 1 year formula, I don't know why they wouldn't resign that. I said zero
Yeah.
cap, but I imagine they
Yeah.
could have figured a way out to get him
Yeah.
back. But they missed their chance in Super Bowl 51,
Yeah.
and it was probably hilarious. You were probably watching that and laughing.
Yeah.
I was
That was so funny.
I was laughing for the first 3 quarters at my brother,
I think that was the only time I was rooting for the Patriots in the
and
Super
then
Bowl,
it
just because I
fell.
hate the Falcons.
Yeah, that this division is
Yeah.
the Bucks to lose, and then maybe in 2 years, I think the Panthers maybe will overtake the Bucks depending on it depends how the
Yeah.
Buccaneers replace Brady. If
Yeah.
they end up drafting a quarterback next year in the mid-20s and develop him with I guess, talent around him with Godwin and
Yeah.
company. They could go back, but
Yeah.
I think
I don't know. Brady's got a couple years. Like if he retired at the end of this year, you'd question it. You'd be like, why is he retiring? Like
Super Bowl, I thought he was gone next year. This upcoming year would be his last.
Me
But
too,
then
to be honest.
because he was I'm not gonna say average, but he looked bad at some points last year. Looked good at some
Yeah.
points.
Oh
In
yeah.
the game against in the games in the playoffs, he was okay. He wasn't amazing until the Super Bowl. Shouldn't have won MVP. I think someone on the defense should have won MVP.
Oh yeah. Devin
But
White should have won MVP.
yeah,
No
which
doubt.
he's a really good play. They hit in the draft. The Bucks
Oh
really
my
hit in the
gosh.
draft.
I love Devin White.
Devin White, Vita Vea.
Yeah. And Tristan Wirfs last year in the first round. Oh my gosh. And Antoine Winfield.
Yeah,
That
him
was a
doing
steal.
the two thing.
Yeah. But that was a steal. Second round. I think it was I want to say it was the 41st overall pick. That was an absolute steal for the Bucks.
They did. They drafted it extremely well and got rewarded for it big time.
Yeah.
And if I were to get a Bucks jersey, I get Winfield. That's probably my favorite Bucks player.
Yeah, that's still my profile picture on Twitter.
It's just because of this thing with
signed to the Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to the NFC East here.
God, that division, that game, that Sunday night football game was one of the funniest things I've ever watched. Giants fans
going crazy. Even the players on Twitter, they're like, "What the hell?" Yeah.
The Cowboys, they were. I'm going to talk about Prescott a lot because that's the biggest signing easily of the free agency.
Yeah.
Eagles, they're the Eagles.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Doug Peterson, oh my gosh. I thought he was actually a good coach when he won the Super Bowl.
I think that was more Reich. That's why I think Wentz is going to succeed. But I think that was more Frank Reich really calling the show on offense. And then Washington. Let's start with New York.
Yeah. All right. So the first thing they did was re-sign defensive end Leonard Williams, 3 years, $63 million, which is I think is a bit of an overpayment, but he's a good player. Like I like that.
You have to pay your players.
That's right. Yeah. And they did sign Kenny Golladay. So as we mentioned before, they signed Kyle Rudolph. They signed Raiders running back Devontae Booker, who was pretty good when Josh Jacobs was hurt. He wasn't that bad, but and then they got another wide receiver, John Ross from the Bengals, extremely fast. He's not a great wide receiver, but they signed Mike Glennon as a backup quarterback, I'm guessing. He was pretty good for the Jaguars, filling in when they decided to take out Gardner Minshew last year. But they lost Kevin Zeitler, Dalvin Tomlinson. But I really like what they did with Kenny Golladay and Kyle Rudolph because it's going to give Daniel Jones way more weapons. I think
it's I like what they did, but then Daniel Jones is the quarterback. It's like the same thing with so many teams this offseason. You did really well, but the one lingering question mark going to next season is Daniel Jones going to take a next step. That draft wasn't good with quarterbacks. The 2019 draft was awful with quarterbacks.
Oh my gosh, you had Daniel Jones,
Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock was in the second round. No, it's not too much of a bust.
Ryan Finley. I think Ryan Finley was like the fifth best quarterback in that draft.
It's ridiculous. And then Kyler Murray, of course, the best player there. But I like what they did. David Gettleman, they have a love-hate relationship, Giants fans on the internet and in general with that guy. I think they did good. Golladay was needed. They have a great wide receiver in Shepard, Golladay, Slayton.
Yeah. They now they have a wide receiver core.
Yeah.
Before Rudolph, they did not, it was all over the place. They just had Shepard and Slayton but it gives Daniel Jones, in my opinion, a true wide receiver one in Golladay.
Yeah, it does. So now I think again, what they did with Buffalo did. Here's the superstar wide receiver. Show us what you can do.
Exactly.
If Josh Allen was at his 2019 level, there would be discussions of is he the future? He could be traded. But because he took the next step, the Giants have to do the exact same with Jones. They lost Slater, Tomlinson. What can you do though? You focus on certain improvements, and you have to re-sign Williams.
Yeah, that's good. Right. Yeah. All right, and moving on to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys, that mammoth contract.
They locked up Dak Prescott for the next 6 years for $240 million. They signed cornerbacks C.J. Goodwin and Jordan Lewis, and they got another safety in Keanu Neal. But they did lose Chidobe Awuzie to Cincinnati. They lost Andy Dalton and Cameron Irving. So I thought they did a pretty good job with locking up Dak. And they're probably gonna focus on the draft.
Yeah. So I'll talk about Dak. So it's 4 years, $160 million. $126 million fully guaranteed. 6-year deal, but with the voiding in the contracts, I have no idea how that works. I'll
No,
let
me
that
neither.
go
I'm
out.
gonna be honest.
He was like, I look at his career stats. His best year in the NFL was 2019 in terms of passing. And QBR was better a few years ago. But other than that, he was set for a career year.
Yeah, no, no
5
question
weeks
about
in,
it.
I think it was when he got hurt to the Giants, almost 2,000 yards, best percentage of his career. QBR wasn't as good as it was in his rookie year. 9 touchdowns, 4 picks. He was gonna have a career year.
Yeah,
Money
and he was
deserved.
definitely he was definitely going to be in that MVP conversation
Yeah,
if
he
he
would.
finished the season. But yeah, he just has to hopefully rebounds from the injury. That's the hope for the Cowboys. I think he will. I don't know. I'm not sure at what level he will be after the injury.
Yeah.
I'm assuming like he's gonna be almost just as good. But that's their future now. The Cowboys have Prescott, and they just have to build around him. Hopefully, Jerry Jones can do that. For
I
the
don't have any hope in that.
mental health of the Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
Down there in Dallas and around the world.
America's team. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. America's team.
Yeah. Yeah, good. I guess I don't know what to say. Their defense was god awful.
Oh my gosh, the secondary was terrible
They hope
last year.
Quandre Diggs, I think his name is Diggs, plays better. They lost Byron Jones last offseason. They just And you'll hear Cowboys fans after a week 1 win over like the Eagles saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. We all know that's going to happen.
Yeah. As a Leafs fan, they are the Leafs of the NFL.
Yeah, they are.
I'm not even going to deny it.
And then which in for the European fans, they are the Manchester City of this because they can never win in, I guess, the Champions League, and they say they're always going to win. I don't know. They're interesting. They have an obnoxious fan base. The Cowboys haven't won,
as we know from people we know in real life.
Yeah.
Some people.
I don't know. It's a middle tier all season. Not bad because you got your franchise quarterback locked up to an insane deal.
Yeah.
But nothing more you can do when you need your payday.
And you just turn to the draft now and just hope to make some splash picks there. Yeah. We weren't expecting the Cowboys to do too much. No. We're just expecting them to lock up Dak, obviously, and improve
their receiving core. Which is another reason I'm looking at it back now. CeeDee Lamb, that's not the best pick they could have had.
No, Jerry Jones just wanted to steal him from the Eagles.
Yeah, Jerry Jones. I think he wants money, and that is the biggest pick they could have made. It's a flashy
exactly.
Pick. They really should have gone with CeeDee Lamb, right? Yeah, they should have gone with a defensive player.
No doubt.
Patrick Queen would have had more of an impact. I know he's too early to go at 19 or 18, but he would have had more of an impact on that team than Landon. Anyways, moving on to whatever you call the Eagles.
Yeah, the Texans of the NFC. They have Viking safety Anthony Harris. They signed QB Joe Flacco today.
Elite Joe Flacco.
Yes, to get some competition in there with Jalen Hurts. Obviously, I think Jalen Hurts will still start next year. But I don't know where they go at QB. And they did lose Jalen Mills to the Patriots. They were in the John Johnson stakes, apparently. But,
John Johnson is one of the best signings of the entire free agency.
Yeah, going to Cleveland there.
People are gonna know in real life we're not happy about that. Him leaving.
They're gonna be more draft oriented. That's just the reality with the Eagles right now. So
we'll see. Washington. I like Washington.
I do too. I think they were they were definitely the best in the NFC East by a bit, and they did make some good signings. They franchise tagged offensive guard Brandon Scherf. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's going to bring some competition in there. He's an upgrade from Alex Smith, obviously. Mm-hmm. They re-signed their kicker Dustin Hopkins. They got Bengals corner William Jackson. They got Curtis Samuel, who's going to be huge for them next year.
I love their moves. Other than their being named the Washington football team, they had a really and I think Daniel Snyder also bought he completely owns the team, I am pretty sure.
The NFL just cleared him today, I believe, to buy out all the owners of the
which hopefully is to sell because he's not a good owner. I think they need to change.
He's a horrible owner.
Washington football team. But they did really well.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick like is hit or miss because I hope he makes the playoffs. I think they can win the division.
Yeah.
But it all depends on how he plays.
And one signing I didn't mention is that they did bring back Taylor Heineke. As we know,
Yeah, legendary.
the performance against the Bucks, he had a great
They were
performance
so
against the
close to
Bucks.
beating the Buccaneers. That
Oh
one,
my god,
the one,
he was a killer, man.
that I think on the final drive they could have won. That's why, like, I'm
Yeah,
skeptical of the Bucks because I
yeah,
really feel there's a blown call
yeah,
at the end of that game. But
yeah. I really like Ron Rivera. I think he's one of the best
mhm,
coaches in the league. I'm gonna be
he
honest.
is.
Like he's a top tier coach, and it's gonna it. Hopefully they just need a long term solution at QB, but Fitzpatrick will be the starter next year. I'm expecting. They need a long term solution though at QB because they have a bunch of old guys in that room, right?
Now the best division in the NFL last year, I'll go with. Um,
Yes.
I do not like the Cardinals. I'll just say that now because of
No.
that Bills game and their fans thinking Kyler Murray was an MVP after throwing a 40-yard downfield to a superstar wide receiver. But this
Yeah.
division filled again with good teams. They realistically all have a shot at the playoffs next year.
Yeah. The Cardinals, they re-signed linebacker Marcus Golden 2 years, 9 million. They re-signed offensive tackle Kelvin Beachum, 2 years. I actually like that signing a lot. He's a great player. They agreed to terms with wide receiver AJ Green, from the Bengals, 1 year deal, which is interesting. They got center Rodney Hudson from the Raiders. They signed Matt Prater to, I guess, replace Zane Gonzalez. They got JJ Watt. So I think that was a bit of an overpayment, to be honest. And
You put Stafford there. Well,
yeah, I know. It's a typo.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, again, they were a weird team last year.
Yeah.
Really,
I
really
thought
weird
they looked
team.
really good at some points, and they
Yeah, and
looked
then really bad.
really bad. Yeah.
Um,
I think what's his name? The coach?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah. I
Not
think
the
he's
guy.
the right. I do
You
believe
really?
he's the right man for the job.
I'm
So
skeptical of him.
I really like him. I think he's good for that.
Um,
He came in and he said he's going to draft Kyler Murray, and he drafted Kyler Murray.
we said
And Kyler
Rosen's the
Murray's
guy, and then a month
no,
later,
that wasn't him.
I thought it
I
was.
think
I'm not
no,
sure.
I can't even remember who was the coach. They literally that
Wilkes,
coach was one
Stephen
and done.
Wilkes, or something. Something
Yeah,
Wilkes, and they
he said
canned
Josh
him after a
Rosen.
year.
Oh my
Um,
god, he terrible coach. But yeah, I don't like what they did in free agency too much, but they have a good veteran presence in JJ Watt.
yeah, losing Hassan Riddick is big. Losing Drake,
Yes.
Peterson, big as well.
Yeah.
I like Green, but then I like Hudson though. I like Hudson. I like
Yes.
Prater. Watt, I don't know. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Depending on if he can go back to form.
Yeah.
I
He
wanted
just
Buffalo to sign him, but at that term, at that money, no.
yeah. No. I don't like the JJ Watt signing, but I do like what he brings to the team. I don't like the contract, but I like the presence.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
single-handedly won a playoff game against Buffalo.
Yeah.
He sacked
Yeah.
Allen, and that entire building exploded, and it all
Yeah.
fell to pieces. So he's a
Yeah.
game changer. He can
Yeah.
single-handedly win you a playoff game,
Yeah.
and I think they will make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
They made a lot of moves this season though that said, oh, like as small moves, right? But they said we're gonna win the division now. Like that's what they
yeah,
said.
it
Pretty
also
much to their
depends on
fans.
Kyler
I don't know if
Murray's.
they will.
Yeah, I don't think they will either, but I think they should be a playoff team.
Yeah,
Los
definitely not a
Angeles
podcast spot.
Rams. They were one of the
Yes.
biggest losers in
Yeah,
this offseason. Due to
they
nature,
lost
though,
out on a lot.
due to being
Yeah,
in cap hell from awful contracts, Cooks, few other really bad deals that they gave out.
yeah.
Gurley, well, it's not their fault with Gurley.
No,
Legs gave in.
he just gave out. He gave in to his arthritis, right? Like it's not his fault or the Rams' fault, but it is what it is. But they did re-sign Leonard
I
Floyd,
like that one.
4 years, 64 million.
He was a good pickup last offseason.
Yeah,
Really helped the
yeah,
defense.
yeah. I don't think they want to let him go after letting Dante Fowler walk.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't want to like that to happen twice. They did lose John Johnson, Samson Ekebom, and Gerald Everett and Troy Hill. So a couple.
They're all they
losses
lost
on the
they lost their coordinator, which is the biggest part. They
Yeah,
lost some defensive parts, but then they got Stafford.
yeah, that's right.
Um,
Yeah, I failed to mention that.
Yeah, it's fine. I like that. I think I've always liked the guy.
Yeah,
I always feel for him because Detroit's never built a team around him. The Ford family really should sell the team because they
Yeah.
had the two teams in that North division that really need new ownership, the Bears and Lions. But I don't
Yeah.
know. Just
Yeah.
like you said, you give them a. I'm going to give them a B minus type off season, just because of
Yeah.
Stafford, just because that
Yeah.
level, the offense wasn't there last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Stafford's an upgrade over Goff, to be
Way
quite honest.
huge upgrade over
Yeah.
Jared
And
Goff.
he's such an underrated quarterback. He puts
Yeah,
up almost nearly fantastic stats every year. He gets overlooked because he's in Detroit. But now hopefully he'll shine and he can actually stay healthy because he's gonna have a decent O line.
yeah, and this
So
is a warning
and
really
good weapons.
to Jacksonville. They go
Yeah.
basically 0-16. You can draft a superstar quarterback with the first pick after having a garbage year. You got to build around him.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
Browns are slowly doing that, and I think they are doing
Yeah.
that with
And the Bengals should
Mayfield.
do that too.
The Bengals should do that, but Arizona's done a good job. But now on to San Francisco, who
Yeah.
they were a weird team last year. They were
Yeah,
a
they had a like $300 million worth of players that got injured.
yeah.
Like,
Then they got a bunch of hype right before Monday Night Football against Buffalo,
yeah,
and then we're bad. They
yeah.
they got a lot of hype
It
midseason
really
for
isn't
some
their
reason.
fault.
It isn't their fault. They got all their star players hurt, and Garoppolo. I'm not including a star player because he
Yeah, game
held them back.
manager, to be honest. Yeah. But they did re-sign fullback Kyle Juszczyk, 5 years, 27 million. Kyle Shanahan really values
Yeah,
his
that's
fullback in
yeah.
that offense. They did re-sign Emmanuel Mosley, 2 years, 10.5 million. Re-signed Jason Verrett, 1 year, 5.5 million. They did pick up Samson Ekebom, 2 years, 12 million. And they did re-sign Trent Williams, 6 years, up to $138 million. And they signed Falcons center Alex Mack to a 1 year, 5.5 million contract. I kind of like what they did in the offseason, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully they'll do better next year because they were very injury riddled with Nick Bosa getting out, and then Solomon Thomas filled in for. I remember watching that game. Solomon Thomas came in for him and then got injured like almost immediately. So I don't know. They're going to be better than next year due to the injuries, but it's going to
Yeah.
be.
They're an interesting team.
Yeah.
They were so close to winning the Super Bowl and then collapsed. One of the worst Super Bowl winning attempted drives I've ever seen. That last
Oh my
drive for
gosh.
San Francisco. Um, I don't know, this division is weird to call because the 49ers can be a playoff team. Every single team can be a
Yeah.
playoff team, but I don't think there's one team in this division, other than Seattle, maybe,
Yeah.
that can really make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're all sort of clumped together. Like there's no one
Mhm.
team that you can say, okay, this team is better than the other three,
Yeah.
right? Like they're just kind of all somewhat equal in a way. But yeah, I think they're gonna be way better next year.
So
They're definitely gonna like contend for the division. So
final team here, Seattle.
yeah, they re-signed running back Chris Carson, 2 years, 14.6 million. They got Rams tight end Gerald Everett on a 1 year deal worth 6 million. They got Raiders offensive lineman Gabe Jackson, and they signed Akel Witherspoon, 1 year, 4 million. But they did lose Shaq Griffin to the Jags. They lost David Moore to the Panthers. I like Chris Carson as a player. I like him coming back as the primary back on a 2 year deal. And they did add some more depth on the O-line, and they're going to bank on Everett short term to fill in for them at tight end.
They are my winner of the division right now because
Yeah.
Wilson appears to be more happy with
Yeah.
that. We failed to mention the Bears nearly acquired him, which it's an interesting thing. You're going to give up Khalil Mack and two other players, and then it seems like
Yeah.
what is the real objective
Yeah.
there? But that's it for the free agency, and I'm going to give the big winner. The NFC, in my opinion, the winner in the NFC is probably New York or Washington.
Yeah, I would have to say that, or Tampa Bay for me.
Okay, well, yeah, Tampa Bay. I'm going to
Yeah.
go with Tampa Bay and Buffalo, the two biggest winners in terms of retaining their team
Yeah.
there. But then in terms of new acquisitions, I'm going to go with Washington and New York because
Yeah.
Washington did a really good job at improving an offense that was pretty bad. Didn't lose any defensive pieces. They lost Ronald Darby, but then signed a better William Jackson.
Exactly.
Great
And
replacement there.
I really liked their defense last year. Like
Mhm.
their defense was
Their
fantastic.
front four
Oh my
was
gosh,
really
it was
dominant,
amazing to
and
watch.
then a great head coach.
Yeah,
Um, but that's really
yeah,
that for
yeah.
on the NFL free agency. So thank you everybody for listening. Our next episode will be on the the March Madness Sweet 16, and then our next NFL episode will either be on maybe a Deshaun Watson trade, but most likely be
Possibly.
on the NFL draft, which is in Cleveland in the beginning of May. So thank you everybody for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your day.